Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, for Father's Day, some thoughts on men in books. So this video was partly inspired by a video that Brian from the channel Bookish put up a little while ago about gendered reading. So the idea that our enjoyment of books can be impacted by our gender. And that got me thinking. Brian and I had a bit of a chat in the comments about particular types of male characters in books that we are interested in, that we enjoy reading about. And that got me thinking about the portrayal of men in books generally, and particularly in books aimed at men. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video today. And there's kind of two parts to this conversation. So the first part is the concept of the kind of books that are marketed for men, the kind of books that men enjoy reading and that publishers, push out and publish for men to read. And it occurred to me, thinking about that, if you think about the kind of books which are kind of stereotypically considered to be male books, like spy books, cowboy books, detective books sometimes, all of those things that I've just mentioned, spy, detective, cowboy, they're jobs. And I think a lot of books that are aimed at men are books about work. They're books about characters doing a job. And I was wondering why that is. And I think, historically, so going back to kind of the heyday, I suppose, of paperback fiction in kind of the 50s, that is a time when most of the workforce was male. Men were more likely to go out to work than women. And I wonder if that's why that has kind of been cemented in popular fiction as the kind of book that men will enjoy, is a book that gives them escapism from their day-to-day, like the daily grind of going to work, by showing them male characters doing work that is kind of fun and interesting. And maybe there's something in that. Maybe there's something about reading about other men doing work, doing jobs, that is a kind of partial escapism. It's something that you can relate to, but it's also something that feels kind of fresh and interesting. Now, clearly, since then, the labour market has changed massively. Women are far more likely to work nowadays, and I'm not sure if there's been a change in fiction aimed at women that reflects that. If you know, do let me know in the comments. Do let me know your thoughts on that. I'm someone who has read far more like male, quote unquote, oriented fiction than female oriented fiction. So I think I think it's a point of discussion. So I wanted to talk about that and see if people, if that resonates with people. And when you think about like really popular male characters in books, so someone like Jack Reacher, who's the lead character in a very successful series of books. Jack Reacher doesn't have a job. That's kind of the point of the books, is he's just a drifter. But what he does it like it's a job. So he is very determined, he's very resolute, he comes across problems and he helps people fix those problems. And whilst it isn't his job, he acts like it's his job. And you think about like superhero characters, they're very, very similar. They do something like habitually, if you like, in the same way that you do a job. They will just keep on being heroes. That is their job, even though it's not technically a job. So yeah, it feels to me like a lot of male fiction is about that. It's about work and it's about escapism from work. And that led me to think about what are the kind of traits of male characters in popular male fiction. What are the things that you expect a male character to be like? What kind of things do you expect them to exhibit? And Brian talked about this in his video and in the conversation we had in the comments, the idea of competence, the idea that a lot of like heroes in male fiction are people who are good at everything and often very good at one particular thing. They have one particular thing that they specialise at, but they tend to be good at a range of things. So I think there's definitely something in there. I think a lot of like the majority of like male hero type characters are characters who are portrayed as being very, very competent at something. Jack Reacher is, definitely an example of that. Jack Reacher is a character who's kind of borderline genius in terms of his ability to solve problems, but is also physically strong and great at fighting, and he's great at everything he does. He's a kind of an Ubermensch type character. So that's definitely one trait of male characters in fiction. The other one that occurred to me is one that's a bit more difficult to describe, and I couldn't come up with a single word to describe it, but it's the idea of characters who are kind of resolute, who believe in something and will do anything to achieve that. So characters who are, I suppose, honourable, characters who have a path that they are going down, and they keep on going down that path because they feel that it's the right thing to do. And I think your kind of like your Ubermensch type characters are the characters who do both. So Jack Reacher definitely does this. He's supremely competent, but he's also determined and resolute. You know, nothing stops him. He won't ever become discouraged in his missions. He will do everything he can to do the right thing. You know, James Bond, I guess, would be another example of that kind of character. So you do definitely get a lot of characters in male fiction who are like that. But you also get characters, and these ones are the ones I think are a bit more interesting, who go on a bit of a journey through the course of the book. And often they are good at, they exhibit one of those traits at the beginning of the book, but not the other. So their journey through the book is either a journey to competence or a journey to being more honourable. To give a non-bookish example of that, think of Star Wars. So think of the first Star Wars movie, or maybe the original trilogy. So there's 4 main male characters in that. You've got Han Solo, who is dishonourable, but very competent. You've got Luke, who is very honourable, but like incompetent basically at the start. You know, he's green, he needs to be, you know, he needs to be trained, he needs to learn. And then you've got the 2 older characters, who both of whom I think exhibit both of those characteristics. So you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is supremely competent and also supremely honourable. And then you've got Darth Vader, who is supremely competent and also, maybe not honourable, but supremely resolute. He is doing something that he believes in. But he's on the dark side, literally. He's like the opposite of Ben Kenobi. And as the series continues, Han Solo becomes more honourable. So by the end of Return of the Jedi, you know, he's a good guy. He's doing the right things. He's no longer a scoundrel. And Luke becomes competent. So again, by the end of Return of the Jedi, he's supremely competent. He's learnt to be a Jedi. To take a bookish example, if you think of the Game of Thrones series, a Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, you've got Ned Stark, who in that first book is that Ubermensch type character. He's completely honourable and he's also completely competent. He can do anything he sets his mind to, and he's really resolute and determined. And then you've got Tyrion Lannister, who is very competent, like really smart, but is completely dishonourable, and as the books progress becomes more and more honourable. And then you've got Jon Snow, who is, you know, honourable right from the start, you know, willing to make a great self-sacrifice, but who is not competent and who learns and trains and, you know, becomes more and more competent as the books progress. So yeah, I think that's my theory on male characters in books and what male-oriented books are about. So I think they're about work, and I think they're about, you know, male characters tend to be about a combination of doing the right thing and being able to do the right thing well. With the, you know, kind of ultimate male character being one who can do both, who is honourable but also very, very competent. So yes, do let me know what you think in the comments, and as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.